All right, welcome to episode 20 of the Long Toss here on the Walkoff. That's a milestone.
What a nice even number.
Look at that. I mean, Cabrera just got his ceremony today for 3,000 hits, but 20 episodes of anything is pretty impressive. All right, let's run down the list. We got a full cast tonight. Last week we were a little bit light. I think four of us. This week we're gonna have seven by the time it's all said and done. Jack from Daily Dose of Baseball will be joining us a bit late here. Okay, so topics for today. We got the Blue Jays Tigers series in review. We're going to look ahead to Baltimore and the Yankees coming up this week. Of course, the debut of Gabriel Moreno. That's all anybody wants to talk about, I'm sure. Jose Berrios looking better. The strikeouts are up. Contact is down. But what's going on with Kevin Gausman? So we got Baltimore for 4. And Manny Machado, former Baltimore Oriole, thinks there should be a farewell tour for Albert Pujols. We'll get everybody's thoughts on that. Maybe have a quick look ahead at players in their prime who we think deserve a farewell tour when it's all said and done. Then we're going to look at the Yankees. Scott was telling me just before we went live, we're 14-6 in our last 20 games. 700 winning percentage. We've made up 0 ground on the Yankees. This was the easy stretch where we were supposed to make up ground and we did nothing. So just keeping pace. All right.
With a Yankees... 700 winning percentage. Like, come on.
I know. So the Yankees continue to win despite playing, better teams as of late. We'll get into whether or not they're actually good and are they catchable is the big question there. Garrett Cole had one of my favorite performances of his career this week. 5 home runs, including 3 for 3 to start the game. Pretty cool there. I don't know how everybody's feeling about Garrett Cole, if we're still haters there or not. But we'll get everybody's feelings at. We also have the All-Star ballot. Everybody's filled out their choices for the MLB All-Star game. And you at home can do so as well. So go to bluejays.com/all-star and get your votes for Alejandro Kirk in. All right.
By the way, Adam,
yes,
Damien in YouTube just put, "Who cares about the AL East title? It's all about the World Series," and I love that take.
That is a great take. Yes, it is. It all comes down to home field advantage in the ALCS. That's all that really matters, right?
Absolutely.
When we're talking AL East. Okay. That is a good reminder, though. We are live on YouTube Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. So if you're one of the 30 to 40 people watching live right now, get your comments in. We'll respond to as many of those as we can. This will re-air Monday morning. So if you're watching Monday morning or later in the week, get your comments in, and Scott and I will do our best to catch up to them on our mailbag episode. Jen, we did have a comment from last week about your nut allergy. It was suggested that it could be just the brand of, what was it? What was the nut that you were trying that you weren't having issues?
I'm allergic to cashews,
okay.
And it seems that peanut butter is, like, after maybe having a certain quantity over a certain number of days is causing a reaction. And I know they're not, like, one's a tree nut, one's a legume, but my only thought is I know the protein in both of them is similar.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if at a certain threshold, the peanuts trigger the cashew allergy. I don't know, but it could be brand, it could be facility that it's produced in.
Yeah, that was the
we specifically had someone who was like, "Hey, tell Jen that it might just be that there's a cross contamination." Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that people care.
They're looking out for you, Jen.
Thank you.
All right. Beyond that, we've got a big thanks to our Patreon. Patreon, as always, patreon.com/the Walkoff Podcast. We're up to double digits for Patreon supporters, so massive appreciation there goes out to David, Abraham, Michael, Sarah, John, Simon, Rashid, Joshua, Jeremy, Ian, and now Dunedin Bob. We're going to have to get like a placard or something that we can just put up instead of me reading everybody's names here because it's getting so many.
It's starting to get lengthy, yes.
Yes, it's a good problem to have. We appreciate all the support. Help keep the lights on and keep things going here. On the Patreon, Scott and I just recorded our episode for Field of Dreams yesterday. So Field of Dreams will be up soon. That was probably the most fun I've had reviewing a movie since Major League.
Major League.
Yeah. So there you go. It was a good watch. It was a fun episode. Look forward to that in the next week or two. That'll be edited and up on our Patreon. We also have behind the scenes pre-show recordings that we do if you want to catch up with Scott and I in the world of stand-up comedy and all the business that's going on behind the scenes, sneak peeks at upcoming guests and stuff like that. Early access to all of our interviews. We had 3 interviews this past week. Most of them ended up being about Gabriel Moreno, so we just put them up right away. But we do have one with Ricky Romero that we recorded last week. I think the day before Gabriel Moreno got called up. So that one is up right now on our Patreon, but it'll be live for everybody for free on YouTube, I think tomorrow, Monday.
Tomorrow, yeah.
So, okay, that is it for Patreon. Lastly, but not leastly, today's episode and every episode of Long Toss is brought to you by Team Oh My. Out hustle my yesterday. By athletes, for athletes, even for guys like me. They have hoodies, they have windbreakers, they have t-shirts and shorts, they have bags for your gym gear, and they have a discount code for everyone listening to this. They just haven't told us what it is yet, but it is coming. At @omai_apparel on Instagram or teamomai.com for the website. We're in talks with Duncan. Duncan wants to do a charity fundraiser with us where we're going to design socks that will be up for sale. So socks up for sale with the proceeds going to a charity of our choice yet to be discussed. But let us know what we should put on our Team Oh My Walkoff socks. Scott wants a picture of a bad taco.
I want bad tacos on there, yeah.
Taco with his arms crossed, muscles, tattoos, sunglasses, all of it. Bad tacos.
Yes.
Okay, that's everything. So let's welcome our guests. We've got Scott, as always. Nice to see you, Scott. How you doing?
Always a pleasure to be here. Can't wait to talk some Blue Jays in this Tigers series.
Jen, how you doing, Jen?
I'm doing great.
Nice to see you. Joel, welcome back. Iron Man. 20
Yeah,
straight.
20 in a row.
He's defeated the flu. He's beat coronavirus. He's here 20 times in a row. I don't know if that's
He's
anything to
made
brag
movies while doing this. Yes,
Yes.
he's done it all.
He has. I'm sure we're going to hear about that later in the show. That's got to be getting pretty darn close to being something we can have a look at, right, Joel?
Yeah, I think I
All right,
said
that's
that.
enough of that. Moving on to the next.
We'll wait for the end. I'll wait till the end.
Well, I just know if we get too into movies, we're going to talk Top Gun again for 15 minutes. So, all right, welcome back to Rick
please?
Talk.
Anyone else? No.
Rick Talks Baseball. Rick, welcome back. Nice to see you again, our resident White Sox fan. Good to see you. How you doing?
I am doing well. Just wondering if I should take up baseball again with all the injuries for the White Sox. Maybe I could make it to the field.
Stretch it out.
Joel, you
Stretch
saw
it
me
out.
play. You can vouch.
Oh yeah, go for it, man. Why not?
All right, and then we've got
His opening.
Dominic, first time on the show. Welcome, Dominic. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Hope everyone else is doing good too. It's an honor to be on.
Looking
Thrilled to
forward.
have you, man.
We got a lot to talk to, so let's get right into it. Let's start with the Blue Jays Tigers series in review. I guess we should just lead with Gabriel Moreno. Made his MLB debut. Initial thoughts on Gabriel Moreno, and then we'll get into how long he sticks with this team and what the team needs to do to make room for him, etc. from there. But initial thoughts on Gabriel Moreno's performance. Dominic, as our freshest guest, let's throw to you first. What are your thoughts on Gabriel Moreno in his debut this weekend?
No, I think he looked very solid out there. He looked comfortable. He did not look really nervous. The body language looked very good in my opinion. And hopefully he's with the Blue Jays, especially in Major League Baseball in general. Hopefully with the Blue Jays for a while, because I think it could help out the ball club.
I agree with what Dominic's saying in that it was great to watch him not look overwhelmed at any point. It's not like it was a Major League debut to blow the doors off. It's not one that we're all going to remember for the rest of time. However, he got his first Major League hit out of the way. He took some really important walks. He was great behind the plate. We got to see the display of his arm in that game one where, yeah, technically Bo dropped the ball and it was safe, but he obviously threw him out, which was great to see. Again,
He did get credit for it.
He did get credit for it. And
They
you go
fixed
back
the
to his
stats.
AAA numbers, and he was 13 for 26 and throwing out base stealers. So 50% is pretty darn impressive, especially when you consider the fact that in AAA, yes, everything is a step down from the major leagues except for maybe the running, right? Like, these guys are still incredibly fast. They still have a really good base running acumen. So, all in all, I give it a 10 out of 10 for a debut. He didn't look outmatched. And plus, fun to see him, like, with Miggy, another Venezuelan, just like, you know, just a guy he worshipped as a kid, right? So kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree. He didn't look overmatched at all, right? He didn't look like he was going out there with too much adrenaline or, pressing or anything like that right off the hop. And to see him get his first hit and throw out his first runner in that first game and get that off his back, I think was, a positive sign, right? Because then he can just from there just focus on the task at hand. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I'm really interested to see how this plays out once Danny Jansen comes back.
I did love watching him catch back-to-back games. I think that was big too. Yeah.
Yep.
Joel, what are your thoughts?
I'm really happy because of the fact that he was how many pitchers did he handle over 2 games? 8?
Yeah, I think at least
8.
Yeah.
And
Great point.
I today 2 hits against in his second game, with Stripling on the mound.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's not to take anything away from Stripling. Like you would, Manoah comes out and does it, and you're not patting Moreno so much on the back for 2 hits allowed with, but to me, that's the 2 earned runs. One was unearned yesterday, but like, to me, that's the big aspect is like, he's going to hit. He's hit everywhere. The guy can really catch. And he already seems to have an understanding of the people who are pitching to him, at least 8 pitchers that I've seen so far. Really athletic behind the plate, blocks really well, has a great arm. It's a very fun debut to watch.
From our resident White Sox here, Rick, did you catch any of the highlights? Was this something that the MLB was talking about? And did you see, what were your first impressions of Gabriel Moreno from a non-Jays fan perspective?
I liked what I saw. I think him getting that first hit in the first game relieves a lot of pressure. Spencer Torkelson in the beginning of the year struggled. He didn't get his first hit for about the 4th or 5th game. So you relieve some of that pressure. You're not struggling, concentrated on getting that first hit. I also like the fact that Gausman after the game said he looked comfortable behind the plate catching. He called a great game and didn't hesitate to call my splitter, which can be tricky to catch, which I thought was great. And then another thing that I noticed was his maturity. In the first inning, after Gausman walks 2, he goes out to the mound for a quick mound visit, which you don't generally see that with rookies. You more see that with experienced catchers. So I think his maturity needs to be talked about also.
That's one thing that I wanted to highlight for sure was after Gausman loaded the bases in the first inning, just that mound visit. I thought that's just the fact that he wasn't intimidated to do it and had the confidence to go out there. I mean, they got out of the inning, pitched out of the jam. I don't know how much of that was a factor of the mound visit, but just the fact that he had the confidence to do it.
Well, by nature of being a catcher, like imagine the amount of information that he had to handle in the last 2 days, right? Oh, yeah. Not just information about the opposing hitters, but information about every pitcher he's going to catch. And he handled himself incredibly well.
Very exciting from Gabriel Moreno. I do think it is good that he got his first hit out of the way. That's one less thing for him to be gripping the bat tighter over the next series with the Orioles here. I believe the Orioles series is in Toronto as well, so that'll be his Toronto debut in front of the home crowd. Did get a little pseudo standing ovation though from all the Blue Jays fans who crossed the bridge down into Detroit. So very cool there. All right, so let's talk Gabriel Moreno, long-term prospects with this team. What's it going to take for him to stick with this club? Danny Jansen's probably out 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the rehab with the broken hand there from that hit by pitch. Roster sizes are getting adjusted here in about a week and a half. So we're going to have to drop the amount of pitchers that we're carrying from 14 down to 13. By definition, that means another fielder. Is that enough to just keep Moreno on this team? I don't know.
I would think so. We'll see how well he does. I don't think that there's any set plan for what this organization is going to do with their catching crunch. There's no guarantee that Danny Jansen's back in 3 to 4 weeks. We don't know 100%. It's a small bone in his hand, and until the swelling gets to a point where they can actually evaluate it, that's up in the air. We don't know what bad tacos lie around the corner, right? Knock on wood and all that good stuff. We don't know. So I think that they're just going to play it day by day, game by game, and see how it goes. And honestly, if Moreno forces their hand, best case scenario, right? If he comes out of the gate and over the next couple weeks just hits like he was hitting in AAA, of course they're going to make room for him. Of course they'll carry 3 catchers.
Well, he's not going to hit 340 or 360 at the MLB level. There will be some regression.
Yeah.
So how do you handle him with Kirk then? Do you DH him? I mean, or do you just split time with him? That was one of my questions.
It is complicated because if we're using the DH role 6 days a week on catchers, that means less rest for George Springer. That means less rest for Vladdy. Not that Vladdy needs a whole lot of rest, but if we're trying to keep the legs fresh through August into September, we can't be using all 6 games of DH on the catching spot. So that, I think, is the biggest factor in what to do with Gabriel Moreno, because we're not sending Kirk back down at this point.
I think
right?
with
He's
Kirk
the team
doing
for good.
so well right now, though, it does really open up a little bit of leeway for Gabriel Moreno. I know Jeff Peterson in our YouTube comment section here just brought up that it's kind of nice that Gabriel Moreno is given the luxury of batting in that 8th spot in this lineup, right? Like, he's not being looked at right now to produce like maybe some of these other guys are. And with Kirk hitting, why would he be, right? Like, Kirk is right now the #1 catcher in all of baseball, so let it ride, baby.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Gabriel Moreno's like speed and athleticism. So is there a chance that even if we do have a situation where Kirk is DHing and we've got Moreno on the bench, maybe it's a half a game each situation where the 5th inning, Kirk gets on first base and we just pinch run him for Gabriel Moreno or for whoever, right? Put in Zimmer, put in Tapia, and then in the bottom of the inning, that's when Moreno takes over. I don't know. He looked good running down to first there a couple times. He's really...
I don't know what the team's mindset would be in terms of, do you want him sitting on the bench every other night, or do you want him playing every night down in AAA Buffalo, right? What would be their mindset from just keeping him fresh and keeping him, seeing, facing pitching and whatnot. He hasn't had that much time. I know he's tearing up, AAA. I'm not saying that he isn't, but do you want him missing out on some of that, development by just sitting on a bench sometimes? So I don't know what their mindset would be towards that.
I know loosely it's been stated that right now the plan is for Kirk to continue to catch Berrios and Gausman, which would open Moreno up to catch the other 3 options there in the starting rotation, which is great. Kirk's going to DH probably 2 of those 3 spots and then get a day off. The real question is going to be when Danny Jansen gets back.
That's what I mean, right? When they've got 3 healthy catchers, how do you juggle that? Because they keep, we all know that it's really important for them to put Springer in that DH spot twice a week. That's been the patterns, right?
So I'm curious what you all think, because personally, I don't think that if they send Moreno back down, it's a big deal.
I don't
right?
either.
Like I think that it's completely fine to give him a little sniff of the majors and give him a little incentive to try and get back. And if he's going to play every single day in AAA, I think that's going to be a lot better for his development than sitting on the bench 2 or 3 games out of 5, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. I think very easily he could be sent back down once they have 3 healthy catchers. And I don't think that will be in any way an indictment on how he's performed at the major league level.
Collins got sent back down, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
One thing to think of with, and I like Scott's point, a demotion. If he gets set back down, it's not necessarily a demotion, right? Like it is going to be like, we got Danny Jansen back. we need you to just get the volume of at-bats. I think the quality of at-bats that he's going to get at the major league level, that's what he needs for development, but probably better to get him high volume at AAA than the occasional one at the big league level. What I do think, though, is if that's the plan, we've already, called him up. I think the threshold for implementing any sort of IL stint for either of the catchers is going to be significantly lowered. So if there's any sort of a tweak, twisted ankle, a bruised hand, whatever the case may be, I think either guy straight to the IL. We're not even going to mess around here. I think that's what we're going to see the rest of the way. What do you guys think about that? Is that too generous, or is that...
No, I think you're right, and I think that it's pretty darn cool that he has a month of runway here to kind of prove himself. And I know Connor just brought up here in the YouTube chat, regardless of what Moreno does, he will be back up in September when they're calling up guys in September. So, if he gets a month here and then Danny comes back and Moreno's, let's say he's hitting 220 and maybe didn't, he got his first look at major league pitching and he gets to go back and get everyday at bats in AAA, and he's back up in a couple months. I don't think that's going to hurt him at all. If anything, it's going to help his development.
Agreed.
I was going to say that it's a different situation when you have. It's really dependent on the team, because you look at Adley Rutschman over for Baltimore, equally touted player, but they're not in a situation to win now, so they got to bring him up and sell Adley Rutschman jerseys, because that's your star of your franchise, right? So he can come up and hit 150 and he's not going anywhere probably for the rest of the season. The other thing I wanted to mention was that in a situation where you do have three of them, say the situation is, say Kirk is the one who's catching, right? Kirk gets a base hit double 7th inning or later, and you have to, and maybe Danny's DHing in that game, or maybe even Danny's the one catching, or whatever the situation is. If you bring in a guy off your bench like Tapia or Biggio to run for that guy, then you still have the opportunity. If a catcher's in the DH spot, you've still got a DH or a catcher on the bench, so you can still pinch run for your slow guy at the end of the game and bring in. Just because you're on the bench doesn't mean you won't see time in those games where you're not starting. And I think you'll see pinch hit opportunities, especially for lefties, when lefties are up against lefties late in the game, and you've got to bring up a ready to the plate. You've got a bat that you're looking forward to see what it can produce, as opposed to, just another at bat for Bradley Zimmer. So,
truly, what a great place for this organization to be in, because you never know what's going to happen injury-wise. And unfortunately for Danny Jansen, who has been so instrumental since the beginning of September last year, right? He really found his swing. Then he wound up getting injured again and comes into spring training, finds it again, right? 6-7 days into the season, he's injured, comes back, puts up another couple home runs, he's injured. So you just don't know. As good as Danny Jansen has been, and as wonderful it has been to see him find his swing and go the other way and find his power, if there's another injury in August that's maybe a little more long-term, knock on all the wood, Gabriel Moreno being in the weeds waiting in AAA is not a bad thing at all, right? To have that competent and that skilled of a catcher at your disposal.
The amount of injuries you see with catchers, having a plethora of catchers is, like Adam said, not a bad thing to have extras. So.
Okay, so with Gabriel Moreno and the roster crunch, if he's not the guy, is there another guy that we think might take the that last fielder position in a week and a half from now? Jordan Groshans isn't going to get called up, is he?
I don't think it's Groshans, but my guess is a guy like Luke's or Samad Taylor. We've talked about both these guys pretty regularly, and I think the best fit is probably Luke's if they're not going to run with three catchers, which I don't know why they would. I don't think Zach Collins needs to be called up at this moment. I would rather see Nathan Luke's get a chance. He's a guy who can play every single outfield position, hits for average, sprays the ball around the field, and is a lefty bat.
Value there. Tearing the ball up in AAA, I believe, as well. I don't have the stats in front of me, but last time I looked, he was right around the top for most offensive categories with that Buffalo Bisons team. All right. Any last thoughts for Gabriel Moreno before we move on and talk Jose Berrios and Kevin Gausman?
Before we get into Gausman and Berrios, can we just acknowledge that the unsung hero continues to be the unsung hero in Ross Stripling? The guy just puts up a casual 0.18 whip in the last 11 innings. Like, are you freaking kidding me? He's allowed 3 hits.
It is against the Royals and Tigers.
Still got to
Say
beat
what
the
you
team
will.
they have to beat.
Yep, exactly. For him, and they were
I
talking
guess tell
about it
that
on
to
the
Kevin Gausman, right? He played the Royals and the Tigers too, so
they were talking about it on the broadcast today about how Stripling has never in his career been either just a starter or just a reliever, and the way that he's had to manage his innings and his workload and the days that he throws on and how many pitches are you going to throw and this and that, throwing off the mound, the balancing act that this man has had to do, right? And to be able to just step in at a moment's notice when Ryu goes down and to put up the numbers he's putting up. And today he went 6 innings. That's his longest outing of the season.
Yeah.
Right? 6 innings of 1 hit ball. I mean, what the heck, right? Like how many teams have somebody who can just literally step in at a moment's notice and take over a starter's role like that?
You're
I
talking
think
about
it goes to show how impressive what he's doing is. There's a reason there aren't pitchers around Major League Baseball who just go into the starting role and then go back into the bullpen, pitch 2 innings here, pitch 1 inning here, come in and pitch 6 innings when one of the starters go down. Like, that's not a role that we see filled, and Ross Stripling has literally been seamless with this role on this team.
13 2/3 innings, only 5 hits, 8 strikeouts, and no walks.
Yeah, no walks.
This man is out to get paid next year.
It's funny how he.
Sorry, go ahead, Joel.
I was just gonna say it's funny how he follows in Ryu's footsteps too, from being from the Dodgers, and Ryu's the big $80 million signing, and we just bang our heads against the wall every time he gets injured. And Ross Stripling just casually comes in and gives you everything that
you would want from Ryu.
Yeah, from Ryu, exactly. Like, it's exactly what you want. What's his numbers on the year? It's 3.65 ERA. If you got that from Ryu, we would be jumping for joy at this point right now.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's such a utility, and he came from a situation out of the Dodgers where you're so stacked with amazing starting pitchers there that he a number of 5 guy, 6 guy for the Dodgers here is a 3-4, because that starting pitching over there is so dynamic. He comes over here, and like the first 4 years of his career, he had a sub 3.60 ERA. He really is an unsung guy. And now given the opportunity at 32 years old, like you say, he's going to get paid if he replaces Ryu's $20 million and earns every bit of that penny. I'm really excited every single time he comes out.
I mean, we just watched Steven Matz get a 4-year deal this offseason.
Yeah.
Steven Matz, right? So if that kind of term is being handed out to a guy like that, I think Stripling is literally setting himself up to be signed to a 3-year deal, which who would have guessed that was even possible for Ross Stripling, even at the beginning of this season, right? Despite how great he was for this Jays team in 2021. So, yeah, Ross Stripling. But I just wanted to bring it up before we start talking how dominant Jose Berrios has been the last couple of
Just on the topic of Stripling getting paid, we really value the flexibility and the utility role that he has been. But I was listening to Blair and Barker the other day, and they were talking specifically this topic about Ross Stripling and how his flexibility is actually really hurting his financial prospects in the offseason, because one of the biggest stats that they're going to look at when it comes to like comparables is total innings pitched. So last year he pitched around 101. If he continues to be in this type of a role back and forth to the bullpen. He's going to be right around 101 innings again this year. That puts him like outside of the top 150 for pitchers. That's really going to hurt his ability to make money. So I don't quite think he's going to have the same market value as a Steven Matz even.
Could you use him in the starting rotation? Is there any room for him if he continues to pitch the way that he's doing?
For Stripling?
Like on this team or on another team?
Well, just this team. I mean, if he's putting up those numbers, can you try to make a spot in the rotation for him? Or do you have too much money vested?
Well, I guess
it
it depends on whether or not Ryu is having Tommy John. That's part of it, right? Clearly, if that's where this is all headed, then they will need to replace him in the rotation, right?
And
Into
Tommy
next season.
Yeah, and Tommy John, that's like a 12 to 18 month recovery.
Yeah.
We might if like, and he was just at the top Tommy John surgeon in all of baseball for a consultation just a couple days ago. They're still looking into secondary options, but I think the reason that decision's dragging out is because Tommy John is such a big deal. Ryu's 34 years old. This is probably going to take him to the end of this contract, which would mean he'd be a free agent at the end of 2023. Yeah, I mean, the fact the Jays even have the option of putting a Ross Stripling into this starting rotation and not needing to jump the line in the trade deadline sweepstakes here is massive, right?
On the topic of Ryu, the human side of baseball, like the way you just framed that, Scott, really breaks my heart because if he does get Tommy John, we're talking about entering free agency at 36 years old, coming off Tommy John where he hasn't pitched in a year and a half. He's not going to get very much money. Talk about what Ross Stripling gets. So it's hard to see that. I don't think anybody in the Jays organization or fandom has any ill will towards Ryu. We're pretty big fans of his. That being said, and Scott, I can see that you have an additional comment to throw in there. But when he was healthy, I mean, other than the couple starts against Cincinnati and the Rays there after his first IL stint, was starting to show signs of age and some concerns. From a baseball competitiveness standpoint, is this maybe like good news for the Blue Jays? If this is going to be just an issue we don't have to worry about. I hate even saying that because it's so shitty. But, I mean, it's money out the door, but like, look, 3 weeks ago or maybe not 3 weeks ago, a month ago we were talking about, does Ryu have to go to the bullpen? Can he keep being a starter if we can't count on him, right? Well, we've got him for all of this year and all of next, so we have to ride with him. If that's not the case, is this maybe good for us to force our hand and say, well, we have to move on?
Well, I would assume that the issues he's had with his pitching has been because he's injured, right?
Sure.
So if he wasn't injured at all, if he was feeling 100%, what would we have seen from him this season? Right? We have absolutely no idea. So that's we might have been quite pleased with him in the rotation is what I'm trying to get at.
I would have rather seen a Ryu at 100% this year as well.
Yeah. So, I think one way or another, if the Jays are replacing him, it's because of injury, right? Like, I think that the injury is part of, if not the reason for any poor performance that we've seen. So that would have to be addressed regardless. So, it is very, very sad to think that we may have seen him throw his last pitch for the Blue Jays, right?
Especially if you think about the fact that one of the big reasons that Ryu chose Toronto in December of 2020 when he signed, December of 2019 when he signed with this team, was the fact that there is such a huge South Korean community in Toronto, that it is such a part of the tapestry of Toronto, and he was so excited to come and experience that and bring his family to Toronto, and then the pandemic hits, and then he's literally playing the next 2 years on the road, finally gets to come back to Toronto, And if this is how his tenure here ends, it's just such a bummer. You know, like, and while we're talking Ryu and the fact that Stripling's been able to step in so admirably, I mean, we had such a good chat with Mitch Bannon. Of course, he's the reporter for the Toronto Blue Jays for Sports Illustrated. And he was talking about Nate Pearson and the fact that, you know, if Ryu does wind up being out long term, I think what he was saying is that we're going to see Nate Pearson called up as he builds his innings up to piggyback Stripling, so that Stripling never needs to go 3 times through the batting order, which, of course, we've already seen the Blue Jays brass, Montoyo, avoid doing that at all costs. We saw it today, right? Yeah. He was at 68 pitches or something like that today, and they're like, no, we're going third. Even Detroit, it's the Tigers, and they're like, no, you know.
So nobody's with me here on this. This is like maybe a silver lining that we're gonna force our hand to upgrade our pitching rotation. Like, am I out on an island here by myself? Because it really feels like otherwise we had our 5 starting pitchers, Kikuchi, Ryu, Manoah, Berrios, and Gausman. There's no room for like trade Kirk, trade Jansen, trade Moreno, whoever. We weren't going to go get a starting pitcher despite struggles from Kikuchi and Ryu because of that financial investment. So now if the financial investment is sunk and we have to move on, is that not maybe a good thing? I mean,
I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying, Adam. Yeah.
The emotional side, yes, I feel for Ryu, and like, understandably, the injuries are probably why he's struggling. But that doesn't change the fact that the Ryu we saw this year was not the prime Ryu.
You're suggesting it's going to force them to upgrade at the trade deadline?
Not even necessarily force, but it opens it up. If Ryu was healthy,
right.
Healthy is a relative term. If Ryu wasn't on the IL and was just going out there pitching 4 innings, sometimes pitching 1 inning, another, ERA over 5. If that's what he just was as our 5th starter, we were not moving on from that, right? We were talking about putting him in the bullpen. He was not going to the bullpen. He was not going to get DFA'd. The contract was untradeable. Nobody would take it for what he was performing at that level. Now there's an opening. Is that not a good thing?
I feel like if we can fill it internally, it's a good thing. If we have to spend currency, if we have to spend prospects to fill it, then it's not as good of a thing.
You don't think that it's still a good thing to upgrade and have better pitchers this year if it means getting rid of Orelvis Martinez and whoever else?
If going into, let's assume, of course, that the Jays are going to make a run in the playoffs, okay? Let's just start from that assumption.
Love this assumption.
Okay.
Yes,
and
great.
So who are the 4 starters you want out there?
In the playoffs?
Yeah.
Well, I go with a 3-man rotation.
I mean, it's Manoah, it's Gausman, it's Berrios, and that's probably a guy that we're trading for.
Well, so that's what I'm saying, right? Like, would you want, with the 5 guys that they started with, right? Would you want Ryu being one of those 4? Would you want Kikuchi being one of those 4? Now, right? So Rick, I see shaking his head, right? So then you are sort of suggesting that they need to upgrade from outside regardless. That's what is being suggested. So then to come back to Adam's point, if this is now kind of almost forcing their hand to do so, then you know, I get where you're coming from. I don't want to say that it's a good thing, but I get where you're coming from, Adam.
It's gone from upgrading the pitching rotation
to a necessity kind of thing.
It's gone from impossible to possible, at least. Can we agree to that?
Yes.
All right, let's.
But if Stripling still does well, do you still need to upgrade?
I would rather see Stripling in a long relief role.
Personally. Okay. Good point.
I like what he brings. We're still going to have the odd day where Kevin Gausman pitches 1 2/3 inning, and we need Stripling to save the other 6 bullpen arms that we do have. So,
and that's a great point, Adam. I mean, if you look back on the game where was it Gausman that pitched 2/3 of an inning?
recently.
Kikuchi did
It was
his last start.
Kikuchi. It was Kikuchi. And because Stripling's already in the rotation, they had to have one heck of a bullpen day. But my
It didn't
goodness,
go well.
that game would have been winnable. Like, that was the thing. They even put up runs after they kind of dug that hole for themselves. That game might have been winnable had the guy coming out of the bullpen been Ross Stripling and given them 4 to 5 innings. So I agree with you there, Adam, where I would like that long man option is nice.
Thank you. Well, we can agree on something. Let's move on to some good news now. Jose Berrios has been pitching better. His last 2 outings, very nice. Strikeouts are up. I think did he go 8 innings against the...
He did.
Okay. So 8 innings, and I think it was 7 the start before. Is this going to just be a wave that we have to ride all year with Berrios?
I
I
feel
think
like
his career has been like that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think his career has always been like that. So yeah, I think you ride that wave and really look forward to those peaks, and you ride out the valleys, and it's fine.
Dominic?
I think it depends personally. Right now, he has a lot of momentum going his way. He just has to keep with that momentum, and you could get into a good rhythm and going 6, 7, possibly even 8 innings every start. All he has to do is just play consistent baseball, and if he keeps doing that, great things will happen.
All right. Anything else we want to add on Berrios?
I think you're seeing a completely different pitcher at home than you are on the road. I mean, he's pitching way better at home. He's 3-0 with a 3 ERA. On the road, he's 2-2 with a 5.97 ERA.
Interesting splits.
And you got to look, his 2 losses were in May, April, June. He doesn't have a loss. He's 4-0. So, I mean, you're getting ups and downs. Like he said, agree with Dominic, it's more consistency. You just need more consistency. He has the stuff. You just need him to consistently put it together, not one outing's good, and then all of a sudden you're getting 6, 7 runs in the next game.
I mean, my goodness, the game against who did we play right before the Tigers? The Royals.
Royals.
The game against the Royals. The game against the Royals, where he had 13 strikeouts and broke his all-time K record. I mean, he was landing pitches. Number one, what an impressive outing. The way he used all of his pitches was mind-blowing. I've never seen a guy... I shouldn't say I've never seen a guy, but I haven't seen Jose Berrios landing all 4 of his pitches in all of the spots that he wanted, being as consistent as he was, using the strike zone up and down like he did. It was a masterful freaking game. 13 Ks. Like,
Huge.
especially after he just shit the bed like the previous 2 games. It was very impressive. What a bounce back start.
Well, speaking of a guy using all his pitches, let's talk Kevin Gausman. Is the roadmap to Kevin Gausman out there now? Is that high heat and low splitters? Is that all we got to worry about? What's Kevin Gausman got to do to get right? Because he looked untouchable for the first 2 months of the season and little human as of late. Jen, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on Kevin Gausman? Is he going to just sort this out? What is the problem, in your opinion? And
I think what you just said, I think people have, other teams have figured him out, and they know what they're looking for out of him. And that's what we've seen. He said he made some adjustments from his last outing to yesterday, and I wouldn't obviously talk about what those adjustments were. But in his opinion, he wasn't tipping his pitches against the Twins. He really didn't see anything in that area. And so the next logical conclusion is just that the playbook is out, right? Teams know what to expect out of him. So then that means he has to make his adjustments. He has to change what he's doing, which I don't know specifically how that looks, because when you've been really successful for 2 months doing one thing, and now that's not working for you, right? How do you pivot? So that's something obviously he and Pete Walker and his, catching staff is going to have to help him figure out.
I mean, yeah, he's predominantly a 2-pitch pitcher.
Yep.
Right? Fastball, splitter. That's his stuff. So.
And if that splitter's not working, now he's a 1-pitch pitcher,
Yeah.
and what that's not going to go well. So I
Usually have to
don't
get
know.
the splitter pitchers early because their splitter isn't dipping as much early in the game, so you almost have to get to them early.
There is an adjustment period ahead of Kevin Gausman here for sure. He definitely has to switch some things up. I think we will start to see his slider is not that bad. It's just not a pitch you want to see him throwing more than 10 to 20% of the time. But maybe mixing that in a little bit more. First pitch, catching guys off guard, because everyone's just sitting on that fastball the second that they see that it's going up high. And that's what's killing him is they're laying off his splitter isn't hitting the strike zone when he's throwing it low, and that's another adjustment he needs to make is he should be hitting that bottom end of the zone a little bit more because it's just dipping out. Like, it's such a deadly pitch. But if guys aren't going to swing at it and you're not hitting the strike zone, all of a sudden you're a 1-pitch pitcher, and like everyone just kind of mentioned here, that's when you get hit.
So should we, as a fan base, just be bracing for 3 or 4 pretty ugly starts out of Gausman while he figures it out?
I mean, yesterday wasn't even that
It
ugly
wasn't,
of a
no.
start. He
No, it
only
wasn't.
allowed 3 runs, 6 innings.
I know.
I'm
against
only
a
one
AAA team, though. I mean, he's going to miss the Yankees series. So he's pitching against Baltimore the last game of that series on Thursday, and then he'll be pitching against the White Sox in the middle of that series the following Tuesday. So he's going to miss the Yankees, but the White Sox could do some damage against him.
I don't know if we have a full lineup. Rondell gets hurt yesterday, gets pulled running to first, and then Kopech leaves with lower body injury today,
Yeah, I
pitches
saw
2/3 of an
that.
inning, and
Holy
he's
cow.
out. So
Yeah, that's a rough
and-
one.
still got Anderson out.
Well, the Twins brought basically their entire AAA team to Toronto and still beat us. So I'm not discrediting any team who is missing guys.
By the way,
count on that.
Adam constantly spews respect on the Minnesota Twins. He can't help himself.
Shut up. Shut up. I still think they're overrated. I mean, they beat the Blue Jays, so what? Everybody could do that. The Royals just took a game from us. Okay, let's move on from the pitching then. Jays are headed to Baltimore for 4. Nope. Baltimore is heading to Toronto for 4. I'm blaming Scott for that slip up in my notes, but that's okay. Right under the bus he goes. We say it for every one of these series, but this needs to be at least 3 or 4 wins, correct?
100%.
Yeah. What did I say last week? I wanted them to go 8-2.
No, you said 7-4 was the absolute worst we could do. So
7-3. Yeah, I said I
7-3.
wanted 8-2 against Kansas City, Detroit, and Baltimore. So they've already lost
We need a
2
sweep.
games.
Yeah,
They've
we need
already
a
lost
sweep
their
here.
2 games. So yes.
and Baltimore's probably the best of those 3 teams, but it is in Toronto. So
A 4-game sweep even against a bad team is difficult, right?
Yes, it is. I think 3 out of 4 is
Yeah.
Baltimore does
doable
have a
and what we
pretty
should
good
hope for.
bullpen too.
Yeah.
yes, they do.
So you want to get to the starting pitcher.
I hear this about all these bad teams. Well, they have a good bullpen. Watch out for the Royals. You got to get on them early because the bullpen's good. Are they, or have teams just like taken their foot off the gas by the 8th, 9th inning when they're up 10-0? I don't know.
So in the YouTube chat here, Aaron World Order says Baltimore is no slouch, and that is the truth. Like, they have improved substantially over what we saw even just last year. Listen, Baltimore sucks, but
They don't suck as much as they
Jack
did.
isn't here to defend him.
exactly. And if they'll catch you sleeping, right?
Yeah.
And again,
And this is
like,
one problem that this Blue Jays team has and has had
we love
for
a
my
nap.
They
They love a good nap. Yeah.
We do love a nap.
Well, and that's just it. Like that loss yesterday with Gausman on the mound, the Jays lost because they didn't hit.
Yep.
Right? They had no extra base hits in yesterday's game. So
I mean, we went
Right?
So here's our runs that we've produced as of late. 11, 6, 7, 8, 3, 12, 8, 8, 7, 4, 10-1 against the Tigers yesterday in that Gausman loss, and then 6 again today. So, yeah, the offense has been better, but it still needs to be serviceable even against bad teams.
Now, on the offensive standpoint, so against the Detroit Tigers, the Blue Jays put up a total of 17 ones, if I'm correct, 17, 18 ones.
Yes.
So now going into the Baltimore series, as we mentioned, it's a 4-game set. Baltimore overall in away games, they're 10-20. So if the Blue Jays are up 3-0 on the series going into game 4, do you rest some of your offensive assets as you go up against the Yankees in the next series? I feel like that could
Jen
be a whole
hates
question.
this strategy of
Oh.
punting on the third game. I love it. I absolutely would.
162 game season.
It is Montoya's favorite thing to do, though, and this team does have guys who do need to be rested here and there.
Look,
It's
even
probably
if we're
likely.
2-1 through the first 3 games against Baltimore, I'd be okay with a rest day on day 4 so that everybody's in the lineup for 3 games against the Yankees.
I just like to always be ready to go blow the team out in the first 6 innings and then rest the backs 3, you know, like
Yeah.
you can rest every game a little bit if you just kick a whole lot of ass to start and then you get, you know, a third of the day off. You know, I prefer that. I prefer all the starters start, crush, and then you get, you know, 7, 8, 9 off when you're up 8-0.
That just feeds to my point. Get to the starting pitching, then whatever to the bullpen.
And as we've seen throughout the start of this season until now, we get to play the game of who on the Baltimore Orioles are free thinkers and not coming to Toronto for this series, because the rumors are that there is multiple players. I mean, Chris Weaver here in the YouTube's on the exact same train of thought here, but he says the Orioles are putting multiple players on the restricted list. So we'll see who comes across the border. And this is one thing where when you're looking at teams like the Orioles, you want to bring every possible weapon you can to Toronto, right? Like, sure, the Twins can get away with sitting a guy here and there, or the Yankees. Well, not the Yankees. They're bringing full guys. But the Red Sox, right? But if you're the Orioles, you don't want anyone on that restricted list. I sure wouldn't if I was managing the team.
I mean, it makes it a heck of a lot harder to win ball games, but I don't know. Well, was there incentive if you know that the team isn't expected to contend anyways? Was there incentive to get vaccinated if you were on the fence about it just because you were going to miss some games in Toronto? Do you know what I mean? Right? Like
Yeah.
whereas the Yankees, you know, every single one of them,
We're like, damn it, well,
yeah, whether they wanted to or not, they did. So they're coming in full force, right? So good for them, right?
Yeah. All right. We've got. Let's ask this, and then we'll move on to our. As we're at the top of the hour here, we'll move on to our career earnings game and our weird alt topics. But before we do, one last thing on the Baltimore series: 4 games against Baltimore. Is it 2-2 for Kirk and Moreno, or 3-1 Moreno? Maybe. How many games do you think Moreno starts in this series? Scott, let's start with you. Moreno.
Does Berrios and Gausman both line up in the Baltimore series?
Baltimore has Manoah, Kikuchi, Berrios, and Gausman.
Yeah, it'll be 2-2 is my thought.
Think so?
I think so.
I think they're going to stick with Kirk for Gausman and Berrios.
Kirk for Gausman and Berrios, eh? Okay. Interesting.
And,
So
and
that will
probably Manoah, right? Doesn't Manoah and Kirk usually go together? Like
They do. So Kirk might even, I don't know.
3-1.
It's going to be interesting. Maybe Montoya always says he doesn't like to have one catcher for his pitchers, but then he always has one catcher for his pitchers. So, like, we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, no, it does look like it very well could line up as Kirk catching 3.
Well, Moreno caught Gausman yesterday, yes?
he did, yes.
Yes, he did.
So
So, yeah, you're right.
All right, so nobody knows anything is the big takeaway there.
I think it would be
Awesome.
2-2. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
2-2.
Split the series.
Yeah.
I
2
don't.
seems like the safe bet.
Okay, here's the real question: whether they're DHing or catching. It's we're going to get 4 at-bats from each of them every day. Defensively, is there value in having Kirk in there as opposed to Moreno? Because, I mean, familiarity with the pitching staff, sure. But that arm, I mean, you got to give the advantage to Moreno. The athleticism, for sure, advantage Moreno.
I would probably like Kirk's really elevated his framing game, especially low strikes. Like he's incredible at getting that low strike just because his body is that much lower than every other catcher. So when he catches it and pulls it up, it seems like that's, it seems like he's catching it up here because he's 5'8". So he's kind of got that little thing. And I really feel like him and Manoah have a really good relationship back and forth. So, and he has developed a lot this year over last
year. He has.
Kirk, for sure. One thing to note with Moreno before we move on here, that stolen base that he threw out and Bo dropped in the first game of his MLB career. 8th fastest pop time recorded in the MLB this year. Very impressive. Joel, you probably noticed he did it from one knee down as well.
Yeah, I did actually notice that. That was really, really impressive.
Yeah, like when you factor that in, that he was
you're not getting your hips engaged. You're not doing anything like that.
There was no cheating. It wasn't a pitch out. He wasn't half cocked before the ball even got there. Man, this kid's a freak, and I'm so excited for it. All right, let's move on now to our game of Guess the Career Total Earnings. So we have an intro that we'll play, and here it is. Okay, and first up, first player on the docket is Chicago White Sox pitcher Liam Hendriks. Total career earnings. So Dominic, while everyone's thinking of their numbers, this is Price is Right style. So it is closest to, without going over, total career earnings. Doesn't count money outside of baseball. It does count contract years that haven't been played yet. So in the case of Liam Hendriks, he's 11 seasons into his career, but we're also going to include the 2023 and the 2024 season that he is under contract for.
Oh.
So with all that in mind, Scott, let's start with you.
Scott, you're muted.
Don't tell me he's muted.
0 for Scott.
Thank you.
Keep talking.
Yes. You guys should have heard the brilliance I was just spewing. That's total to date, or is that like money that's on the books for when? Do you know what I'm asking?
Including the money that's on the books for the next 2.
Was your speakers also on mute? Did you not hear my very clear explanation?
Oh, did you just give that exact explanation?
I said he's played 11 seasons to date, and we are also including the 2023 and 24 season that he is under contract for. So
perfect. Then I'm gonna go 60 million.
60 million for Scott. All right, Rick, you're the White Sox. You should know.
A lot of pressure. Thanks for that. 95 we'll go. We'll go 95.
95 from Rick. Okay. Dominic, what do you got?
I got 85.9.
85.9. All right, that's very specific.
Dominic's just like, why aren't you all Googling it? It's right there.
Pretty quick look at Sport Track, and we're all set. Jen, what do you got? Liam Hendriks, total career earnings.
70.
70. And Joel.
That's why I said it, Joel.
That's where I was gonna go.
I knew.
I'll give a little bit of leeway. I won't do the 71. I'll go 77.
77 for Joel. Okay, the total career. Sorry, Scott, what was your guess?
60.
60, okay. You're very close. So when I typed it in, I just wrote down the actual answer. Scott wins. It's 63 million. So you're only off by $3 million.
See, after that $54 million, Liam Hendricks has made shit his career, which is, as we all know, $9 million.
Shit. Can't wait. I hope I get to make
Yeah, if only we can all make shit someday.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
half a shit. I take half a shit, really.
The cursing kind of aligns with what he does when he pitches.
All right, Scott, the floor is yours. What's your topic? What are we getting into?
My topic is George Springer and the fact that maybe he is being overlooked at one of the true possible all-stars on this Toronto Blue Jays team. The guy has been absolutely essential to this batting order all season long. He's been healthy. He has been a leader to some of these young guys who hasn't been in a situation like this before. Yeah, George Springer, All-Star 2022. Thoughts?
All-Star. Well, we're going to get into that, but yeah, Jen, let's start with you.
I always come with multiple topics. And so one of my topics was going to be, if you could send one pitcher and one hitter to the All-Star game, who are they? And let's maybe eliminate Kirk because everyone's going to say Kirk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So then, looking beyond Kirk, who has been sort of the all-star of this team? And I think, Springer has had, like a very quiet, good season, if that makes any sense, right?
Yes.
Quietly good, almost like you're unaware until you look at the numbers and you're like, oh, he's actually having quite a season.
Joel,
I mean,
you love him in that walk-off
22
spot.
days in a row.
I love him. I was starting the game. I love it. I love having our best hitter in that number one spot. It's my favorite thing in the world. What's funny is that you almost have to judge seasonal the baseball from season to season, right? So if you were to look casually at his numbers this year and compare them to last year, his OPS is down 26, 27 points. But compared to the rest of the league, he's doing 9% better than he did last season. So his OPS plus is 149. Last year it was 141. So his numbers may seem slightly down, but compared to the rest of the league, he's up 10% to what he was doing actually last year. And last year, I feel like when he was in the lineup, if he was an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't play enough games. This year, I feel like he has enough games. He's putting up numbers like he's got 37 runs scored. He's putting up numbers that if you were to say there was an all-star on the team besides Kirk, like you said, I think, George Springer is probably your pick, right?
And I think
keep leaving him up, right? Maybe even the 9 spot.
I think too, because of the fact that George Springer DHs 1 to 2 games a week, maybe he is being forgotten about a little bit sometimes by some people because he isn't out in the field every single game. But I mean, truth is, Connor here in the YouTube chat sums it up really well, that I will take these numbers from Springer all day if it means he has to DH twice a week.
Yep.
And hell yeah, like absolutely. Let's protect the guy who is our $150 million guy. Like sometimes people forget that. Like he's our stud. He's doing what he was paid to do, and he's doing it well. And maybe because he's being paid so well, he's not getting the attention he should, which might even tick some people off in the chat right now that but yeah, he's making $35 million a year, and he deserves to, especially this season, earning it all.
Well, since Scott is bringing up George Springer as an all-star, should we just run down our all-star ballots right now for everybody? I think it's a good time to do it. We're going to skip the National League for now. Maybe we'll revisit that next week, but we are getting kind of long in the tooth here as far as the time goes. We have a lot to cover still. So we're going to go down position by position. This is just for the fan vote position, so obviously pitchers are not included in this. But let's start with at first base. Does everybody have their all-star ballots ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Since Scott's ready, first base, who do you got? Let's go.
I've got Luis Arraez with Minnesota, who has been literally the biggest surprise in baseball possibly this season. I know that batting average is not the be-all and end-all anymore, and that people are quick to just dismiss it. And a lot of people do that because guys hit 220 and then their OPS is still really good, and you're like, you know what, baseball has changed. The man is hitting 367. On top of that, yes, he plays first base, but he also plays second base. He also plays third base. He gets time in the outfield. The Twins move him all over the diamond. He is not a typical first baseman when you look at his numbers, but I got to go with Herrera's just because what he's doing is so special and so rare to what you would watch a first baseman do.
He was my pick as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right, who else
Mine
has
too.
Herrera's?
Arias,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, am I saying it wrong?
Oh,
It's all good.
we know what you meant.
Hashtag Hyman.
He rarely strikes out. He always
He
puts the ball
doesn't.
in play, and it's working out much better this season.
I love players who's like when you look at their OPS, it's based on inside the park offense,
Yes.
right? Like he's got 3 home runs, but his
Yeah.
OPS is like 880 on balls inside the park. So the consistency you get on that is incredible. When you've got a similar guy who's most of his offensive production is a home run, he can put up a home run every 3-4 games and not really show up the other time, but that home run is so much instant production. If you're putting up an 880 on base hits and doubles, you're getting hits all the time. You're
All
just
the time.
always in games. Every at bat you're lethal, right? And when you strike out, once every 3 games, you're in every single at bat. You're taking pitches. You're making the pitcher work, and it's just that's why he's my pick.
It's why my pick wasn't Ty France, who I thought was the
I
other
picked Ty
really
France.
strong. Yeah, and Dominic, that's a really good pick.
I also went
right?
with Ty France.
I literally went with Luis because so atypical of the numbers you would see out of a first baseman to get to those numbers, right? Like they're great OPS number, great stuff like that. But again, like Joel put in, like Joel just mentioned, right? This is all in the park numbers. This isn't based on power, so.
Well, I mean, for me, first base is a power hitting position. I want
Very
a first
fair.
baseman who can fucking bomb, and I wasn't about to vote for Anthony Rizzo, and I didn't want to just pick a Blue Jay at every position, so I went with France as well.
Love it.
Rick, what do you got?
I had the same, and I just had this discussion on my TikTok about expectations of power hitting with first base and why we have different expectations at different positions. It was a huge topic. I had done a video on Keith Hernandez, and people are like, no Hall of Fame because he doesn't have the power numbers for a first baseman, So, but I got sidetracked. But, yes, I had the same as Scott.
Okay, let's move on to second base. Who did you pick, and why was it not Jose Altuve?
Okay, so I picked Rougned Odor. Not the best offensive player this season, but defensive-wise, I want him on the All-Star team because he's a great defensive player. I didn't pick Jose Altuve because I don't think that trash is allowed in the All-Star game.
Oh,
Love it. All right. Anybody else pick Rougned Odor for the All-Star game?
It's a good pick. I hate him, but it's a good pick.
I went with Andre Jimenez of the Cleveland Guardians.
He has been spectacular this year. Come out of nowhere. His number's very much like Arise. That's how you pronounce it, right? Luis
No.
Arise? Arise? Can
Arias.
someone tell me?
Arias.
Arias.
It's
Okay.
Montoya. Morena. Gabriel Morena.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Okay. You know what? Fucking Adam.
Next week, just vote based on the easiest name to say. I went with Trevor Story.
Brandon Lowe.
No, but Jimenez is such a great pick, very much for the same reason. Is like it's his peripheral numbers that make him so impressive, right? You start looking at his wins above replacement and just what he's doing on both ends of the field, defensively and offensively, incredibly impressive. And he's a guy that who would have picked to even be in the running at the start of the season. So I like that pick. Personally, I went with Santiago Espinal. No, I did.
So did I.
Attaboy.
I
So
did
did
this
I.
for
Attagirl.
I did this for a few reasons. Number one, Dominic touched on it, right? Jose Altuve can go, a long walk on a short plank. But it's not just that I'm a homer. Yes, I am a homer, by the way. I will accept that very, very readily for everyone out there who's watching. His numbers defensively have been so impressive. The defensive metrics on this kid, forget about what he's doing offensively, which is far surpasses any of our expectations for what he would be putting up. But the fact that he is able to do things like replace Matt Chapman for 2 games and look just as good as the best defensive third baseman in the league, complete those plays and move so readily to third base, to be able to fill in for Bo Bichette at shortstop and probably play a better shortstop. Like, are you kidding me?
To be a fourth outfielder, literally, when we are in the shift.
And on top of it all, he's hitting. And he's clutch hitting, too. He was when the Blue Jays weren't hitting, when the only ones on this team were Bo Bichette and Santiago Espinal hitting, Espy was there every single game,
That's exactly what I was going to say. I don't think he's missed a game this season. I think he's played every single game. He was hitting when the rest of the team was not. And I'll be honest, like in the offseason, I did not think he could be an everyday player. And I especially didn't think he could be an everyday player putting up this kind of production. So, he's surpassed all expectations and it's been completely consistent. So that's why I picked him.
Hitting great, hitting clutch when we needed him to be clutch. The defensive versatility is everything Biggio has to offer, plus he's got a bat in his hands. So Espinal has quietly become maybe my favorite Blue Jay this season. Love the pick. Still couldn't quite vote for him, but I'd love to see him make the All-Star game. All right, Rick, who do you got at second base?
Jimenez, same.
Jimenez.
Yep.
All right, Joel, what do you got?
I have to go with SB
Yeah?
because maybe that'll get him finally in the leadoff spot if he's an all-star.
Oh God! All right, enough SB talk. Let's move now from second base to third base. Who is your pick, and why is it Jose Ramirez? Joel, let's start with you.
Did anyone have the guts to not pick J-Ram?
Nope.
I didn't.
We all
Dominic,
picked him, right?
Dominic,
Yes.
you didn't
Right.
pick him?
No.
Who'd you pick?
I picked DJ LeMahieu.
Wow.
That's gross.
No, go ahead. I want the explanation here.
Explain yourself.
Okay, so I'm a Yankee fan. I think that LeMahieu overall has had a very solid offensive season, and overall he's a great defensive player. Even if I was a Yankee fan, I would still go with LeMahieu because he's just an all-around player, and not to mention he could play basically every position in the infield.
I think Dominic is onto something there, that LeMahieu is playing a lot better this year than maybe a lot of folks are giving him credit for. And the positional versatility is another thing that gets overlooked a little bit. And he continues to hit for average. It's been his kind of go-to throughout his career, and he continues to do it. LeMahieu's not a bad choice. I mean, my problem is Jose Ramirez, my God, the OPS, is that even it doesn't seem like it's real.
Like
they're video game
OPS.
numbers. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. I went with Devers
That's fair.
because Devers is I think he's on pace for 60 doubles. He's got 83 hits. He's I think he's leading the league in runs. It's close, but Devers is batting 335. So I think it's I understand Ramirez probably wins the MVP, but what Devers has been doing the last 6 weeks has just been insane. That's why the Red Sox are all of a sudden back in it. That guy has just been an absolute. He's been their MVP. for Boston.
I will like to add that if DJ LeMahieu makes it to the All-Star game on the back of those numbers that he has right now and his defensive versatility, then Espinal has to be an All-Star. Better numbers, just as versatile. Also not a Yankee.
I'll accept
that. Okay. Up next, we got shortstop. Who do we got for shortstop? And why is it Bo Bichette? Because that's who I have, Bo Bichette. Anybody else take Bo Bichette? Probably not. I realize that I'm going against the grain here with Bo Bichette. I think he's having,
Adam,
actually a really good season.
I really like that pick. Bo Bichette is a guy that if you look at his numbers right now, I think that the tide could turn for him in the next month. Right now, it's pretty hard for me to deny what Tim Anderson is doing. I think that he has been absolutely lights out with the White Sox.
Tops on my list.
Defensively, yes, there's a bit of a hole there, but I mean, offensively, incredible. And I know, Rick, we've talked about this before, that yes, Tim Anderson has a lot of errors, but also his range is ridiculous, and he's probably getting to balls a lot of shortstops just wouldn't even get close to, and taking errors on stuff that numbers-wise might make him look better if he just let it go, you know? So my vote was Tim Anderson. But I do like the Bo Bichette vote, and I honestly do believe that if Bo continues to take away his April, and just if he's going to do what he did over May and this beginning of June for the next 4 weeks, he's also an All-Star.
I probably would have picked Tim Anderson if we didn't have Rick on here, and I didn't feel like being a little bit of a shit disturber. So
I mean, he's batting 356 with a close to 400 on base percentage. I mean, he's hurt now, but I mean, it's what you want out of your leadoff hitter, and his OPS plus right now is 155. So I mean, he's putting up a stellar year. Just with all the White Sox, he's getting hurt.
Yes, Tim Anderson.
I know. Just tap it in on YouTube on the comment section here has just said that Bo has improved a lot on D, and that is a very, very astute observation. The guy has 2 errors since I think it is. I need to look it up. I think it's May 14th. You know, like in over a month, the guy has really tightened up that shortstop defense.
Big time. All right, Joel. What do you
I went with Bogarts.
Yeah. When you started with Bo, I thought maybe Bo Bichette, but it was Bogarts. Jen, who do you got at short?
I went with Anderson.
All right. And Dominic, what do you got?
I went with Bo.
Hey, there you go. All right.
Jen, you and I just have the same ballot here.
You didn't text her the link for the ballot. You just texted her a screenshot of your ballot.
Yeah, just a screenshot. These are our picks.
All right, so now we've got the outfield positions. Let's just do all 3 in one go. I will start, as much as it pains me to do this, Aaron Judge having a career year. I think 24 home runs now. I don't even know what he's on pace for. Probably 60 plus still.
I think 61. 62.
Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, because Mike Trout needs to be there. And I've got George Springer as my third outfielder. So
those are my 3.
Those are my 3.
I got my
straight from that.
I got Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and Mike Trout.
That's fair. You're a Yankees fan. I get it.
That's fair. It is a fan vote. Joel, what do you got?
That's mine. Not the original one with Trout and Springer.
You got Stanton in there?
No, and Judge.
Judge.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I mean, it's true. Aaron Judge is having a career year. He is doing his absolute best to make sure to handcuff the Yankees into a long-term contract.
And we love it. We're here for it.
I love it. Absolutely. Dominic's just like, what are we talking here?
All right. Rick, who do you got? Outfield.
I got Judge, Trout, and Ward.
Okay.
You know what? Ward is not a bad pick at all. Also having a career year. Also kind of making a name for himself. Reminds me a little bit of what Jose Bautista did, right? Just coming out of the woodwork at 28, 29 and being like, hey, I'm great.
Did anybody see the year from Ward coming?
No.
No.
How could you?
No.
Plus, very pronounceable name. So
yes, right up my alley.
Right up Scott's alley. All right, that's it for outfielders. We got 2 positions left. We got the DH and catcher. So for catcher, I can't not vote for Alejandro Kirk. I feel like even if I wasn't a Jays fan, I'd be voting for Alejandro Kirk. Great season he's putting together. Who else got Kirk?
I got him.
I got Kirk.
There you go.
Are we?
Joel,
Are we?
Are we unanimous about Kirk?
Complete consensus. Look at that. We did it, gang.
Hey.
Because you didn't go Boston Red Sox, Joel.
All right.
Sorry.
Designated hitter. As much as it pains me to do this, and that trash doesn't belong at the All-Star game, Yordan Alvarez is my pick for DH at the All-Star game.
The true DH out there. Like,
Yeah.
Did anybody else see the story about their sign getting stolen?
No.
No.
So there was it 2017 or 2018? I can't remember. When did the cheating scandal go on? With the sign stealing?
17.
So somebody stole their sign. Like literally took it off the brace and they can't find it.
That's awesome.
So the irony.
Hilarious. I love
Maybe they threw it in the trash.
That's a good point.
Who else do we have for designated hitter? Anybody else not take Yordan Alvarez?
I took JD Martinez.
JD Martinez.
that. I
That's a
was
good
actually
pick.
on the fence about doing that too, and now that you did that, Jen, I feel like I really blew the chance of us having exact same.
Right?
Right down to the last guy.
9 out of 10. Joel, what do you got?
Ohtani?
Of course you're picking Ohtani. He'll be there as a
Right?
pitcher, though, for sure. Is he going to be a
Yeah,
pitcher? and
I'm
as a
like, I
position
went
player?
Ohtani with a question mark going, where do I pick him? Am I picking him here or am I supposed to pick him as a starter? So,
Was he a double All-Star last year?
yeah, he hit and he pitched.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there you go. I mean,
But Vladdy still won the MVP.
look, whether Ohtani makes it as the DH or the right fielder or whatever, he's going to hit in that game regardless. So,
Yeah.
okay, moving on now. We got our next round of Guess the Career Total Earnings. So we are going to do one of Joel's all-time favorite players,
Oh, pressure's on now.
former Texas Ranger, former Baltimore Oriole, former Texas Ranger, former Baltimore Oriole. It was a back and forth thing. Rafael
Oh,
Palmeiro.
I think Palmeiro.
You got it, Joel. There you go. Okay, career total earnings, Rafael Palmeiro with the finger point. Okay, we're going to start with Rick, and then Dominic, then Jen, then Joel, and then Scott. So, Rick, who do you got? Career total earnings, Rafael Palmeiro. Played from
How many seasons did he
1987
play?
to 2005. Looks like 18 seasons, if my math is correct. If you're watching live on the YouTube chat, might as well throw your guesses down just for fun. See who's
Let's
closest.
go with 35,000 or 35 million. Wow, 35 million. Wow.
35 million from Rick.
Please don't
Dominic,
take it. Kirk.
what do you got, Rafael Palmeiro?
I got 33 million.
33. All right. Jen, what do you got?
I don't have any. I don't even know. 45.
45 for
Oh,
Jen.
Jen, you're always.
Always
Joel.
jumping my.
Joel, what do you got?
I'm gonna go a little higher. I'm gonna go 70.
70 for Joel. All right. And Scott, you're not going to
This
win
is such-
anyways, but what do you got?
This is such a tough one because that era of baseball, it's the one where you can overguess pretty quick. I'll go with 55.
55 from Scott. And the correct number is a shocking 89 million
Oh,
for
wow.
Rafael Palmeiro.
A little bit more.
So very impressive earnings there. Joel, you were the closest with 70. So the floor is yours, my friend. What are we talking about? Is it
I
Top
guess my
Gun?
point was, no. Can we? Who's seen Top Gun yet? Here.
Don't,
Threw my point away. I don't care what it is. Who's seen
don't
Top
put
Gun?
Dominic through this.
I have not seen Top Gun yet.
Come on, man.
I
What do
know.
you mean?
Me
It's the
either.
movie of
Man.
a generation.
Look, I do not have the money to afford to go to a movie theater in
Do I have
2022.
we're in proximity. I could.
Yeah,
take
you
to
should
a-
take me. Let's go on a date, Joel. I know
Okay.
you want to see it again. Let's go.
I
Let's
will,
go this
yeah.
week.
Yeah, that's 100%.
All right.
Tom deserves my money. That's all. That's my talking point. Screw it. You guys, anybody else seen it?
I have not.
I have not.
I'm seeing it later on this week.
Oh, there you
Hey,
go.
Dominic's got it on the
Look,
books. I like
by
that.
all accounts, everywhere I've seen, this is a universally incredibly reviewed movie. So
Yeah, you don't get too many of those.
I'm hoping to see it this coming Friday. My friend and I were gonna go this past Friday, but
is it Joey Votto?
what?
Are you going with Joey Votto?
No one is trying to get that reference.
I'm just here to start weird rumors that nobody gets. All right. So
Joey,
Joel,
if you're available.
there you go. There you go. All right. Any other input you want to throw on this, Joel, or do you want to give a real topic out there? Because nobody else has seen it yet, so we can't really have a discussion.
I'm taking my time for Top Gun. I see the original. It's a fun movie from '86, but you have to see this new one in theaters. It's not like a movie that's all a lovely story that you can sit and intricately get at the convenience of your own home. You want the speakers blowing your ears out. You want to see the jets on the IMAX. Going to the movie theaters has become such a lackluster thing over the last 5 to 10 years. When you get one, you gotta take advantage of it, and this is definitely one. And I will eat anybody who says, "Oh, I saw it and it was terrible." I haven't met that person yet. That person I don't think it exists.
It has for those of you following the Rotten Tomatoes scoring system, 97% fresh from critics and 99% audience fresh.
Nice.
So that those are pretty incredible numbers. There's no discrepancy between the experts and the casual Joe. So, all right, Joel, you and me, we got to find a day to go. I'll go with you.
Yes, I'll do it. I'm down. I'm excited. See Top Gun again.
All right. Well, let's move on then to the next round.
What a genuine moment here on the walk-off.
All right.
As Tom Cruise is watching us behind him.
Career total earnings in honor of
Tom Cruise.
Of Joel. I was expecting to have Jack from Daily Dose of Baseball, our Orioles fan, on for this one, but we're going with Cal Ripken Jr. Total career earnings for Cal Ripken Jr. Dominic, let's start with you.
Okay, I'm gonna go with 120 million.
120 for Dominic. All right, Jen, you're up next.
150.
150. Joel, the Iron Man himself. What do you got for Cal Ripken Jr.?
90.
90 for Cal Ripken Jr. Scott, what do you got?
70.
70 for Scott. And Rick, last but not least, what's your bid?
135 million.
135 million. Okay, hold on. We've never had this happen before. I don't know how to say this without giving it away. Everybody's over. Let's just put it that way. Everybody's over. Let's rebid.
What was the lowest bid?
Made more than Palmero. Made less than
bid
Palmero.
was 70 million.
He didn't make 70 million?
He didn't make 70 million. That's crazy.
It's crazy. Okay, we're going to rebid. Dominic, let's start with you.
Okay, I'm gonna do 55.
55. Okay, Jen, what do you got?
I feel like it couldn't have been that much under. So I'm gonna go 67. Sorry, what was the lowest bid? 60?
Lowest was
55.
70. So I'm gonna go 67.
67. Joel, what do you got?
60.
60 for Joel. Scott, you're up next.
69!
Nice. All right.
What was
Rick?
Dominic's bid? I didn't hear it.
Dominic bid 55.
Let's go 40.
40. Okay. The career total earnings, Scott was closest both rounds, but he's already won. So the next closest bid is Jen with 67.
What was the total earnings, though?
The total career earnings was 70.7 million.
Well, I was at 70.
Look,
so
I know,
won
and
the
that's
first
where I
time.
was. Look, I know, and that's where I was having troubles because I'm like, if I say somebody got it exactly right, but we have to rebid, everybody's just going to go 69, right? So, okay, Jen with 67 was the closest. The floor is yours.
Okay, so one of the topics we were going to talk about tonight, if we have time, is the possibility of a farewell tour for Albert Pujols.
Love it.
So my topic for you is which former Toronto Blue Jay, for whatever reason you want to give, would you have liked to have had a farewell tour for?
Ooh.
I love this. I love this topic so much.
I think I know.
Or do they have to be currently? So not currently active then? Someone who has retired but didn't get a farewell tour?
I mean, I'm keeping it open-ended. I'm
Okay.
keeping it
I like
open-ended.
Can I say Paul Molitor? I would say Molitor. Did he get I don't remember if he got a farewell tour, but Molitor I thought was huge during his years in Toronto.
All right, that's a good one. Joel,
He
what do you
was.
got?
Delgado?
Farewell tour. Delgado's a good one. Very
Yeah.
good one. Yeah. Scott, what do you got?
I'm going to go with probably the most underrated Blue Jay of all time, Edwin Encarnacion. I love the man to death. The home run to win the wild card game against the Orioles in 2016 is still one of those iconic moments in Blue Jays history. He came out of nowhere. He was a throw-in in the Scott Rowland trade. Literally, he was given to the Blue Jays as they were like, well, we got Zach Stewart, the prospect we wanted out of you, but we need someone to play third base. And they're like, here, take Edwin. Like, that's literally how this worked out. And then he wound up to be, he hit 30-plus home runs with the Blue Jays? Was it 5 years in a row? Anyways, it would be Edwin for me.
Okay. Dominic, what do you got?
I'm gonna go with Jose Bautista on this one. You know, he was one of the worst minor leaguers, and he had a very solid MLB career, and he did wonders with the Blue Jays.
Love it.
Very good. For me, this conversation begins and ends with Roy Halladay. So, self-explanatory there. Rest in peace, Roy Halladay. Okay, good topic, Jen. We got 2 rounds left. Next one up for bids.
Just tap it in. By the way, on YouTube was just like Kawasaki.
Yes, fan favorite forever. Him and his bananas. All right. So up next we've got, I believe he played for the New York Yankees. So Dominic, this should be a good one for you. Mariano Rivera.
Ooh.
Career total earnings. He played 19 seasons. All of them with the New York Yankees. All of them, I believe, wearing the number 42. Let's start the bidding with Jen. Career total earnings, Mariano Rivera.
God. Never start with me. Never start with me.
Everybody needs a turn. We go right through in order.
Oh my God. How many seasons did you say?
19.
I'm so
19 seasons.
Yeah, I'm so terrible at this that I don't even know. So I'm just going to toss out a number, and the rest of you can do whatever you want based off of that. 113.
113. Okay.
I don't even know why. Like, I have no reason for it.
Joel, what do you got?
That's tough for like closers in that era, right? 95, 6, 97, retired in 2012?
2013.
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
13. It's like 15 seasons where he was the closer, 16 seasons. 100?
100 for Joel. Scott, you're up next.
115.
115. Rick, what do you got?
Do 90.
90 for Mariano Rivera. Dominic, it's wide open for you. What do you got?
I got 185.
185. He's gone 70 million higher than the next closest bidder. The correct answer. Ooh, Dominic, you were the closest, but you went over. 169 million.
So I win that one.
So you win that one, Scott.
Technically?
Yes.
What was his contracts through the years? He had to get paid more than any other relievers.
Yeah.
That seems like so much.
What was his
160.
average contract?
So
it show?
from 95 to 98, he was under $1 million, right? Just making minor league money. From 99 to 2004, he was making 7-8 million. And then from 2005 until 2013, every year was like 10-15 million.
See, and that is why I figured it would be higher than we were all guessing.
Yeah.
Is that Dominic's guess was a good one. Should we just go with Dominic's topic here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that breaks the rules of Price is Right. Have you ever seen Price is Right? I mean, Rick wins by default with the worst guess, 90 million. Rick, the floor is yours. Dominic, you're going to have to wait another round. Buddy. All right, Rick.
I think we all know what my topic is going to be. So, Tony La Russa, I want to talk about why we would walk a batter when we are down 2 strikes and less than 3 balls in a situation. I want to know, do you guys think there is ever a situation you would walk a batter when you have 2 strikes up?
So let's preface this full situation for anybody watching or listening who may not be familiar. Correct me on the names of the batters, but there was, I believe, a runner on first base. So he's pitching to the batter as normal. And then was it a pass ball and the runner got to second?
I thought there was 2 runners on because they loaded
2
it
runners
with-
on after the walk. It was a 3-run home run by Max Muncy. Turner was up to the plate.
So
1 and
Turner's
2
up,
again.
runner on first. They're pitching to him as normal. The count is 1-2. And then the base runner on first advances to second. Was it on a pass ball or was it a stolen base?
Pass ball, I believe.
Okay. So after that, this is when La Russa decides there's an open base. Let's put Trey Turner on. So intentional walk with 2 strikes.
Yeah, correct. It was 1 and 2. He threw 2 strikes. He threw 1 ball. And then he called for...
Next batter makes him pay. Home run, Max Muncy.
Yep.
Was it a walk-off?
No.
Or was that just to take the lead in the game?
It took the lead. I mean, it advanced the lead. They were up by 3.
Okay. Is this over baseballing baseball? I guess is the question, right?
Yeah, and just when do you think there would ever be a situation that you guys can think of when you would do that? I mean, I can't think in the right mind with 2 strikes.
I'll jump in here. I think there is never a situation. I think that was an absolute slap in the face to Max Muncy. No wonders he was so motivated to do what he did. I mean, I'm not by any means saying this is the reason why Max Muncy hit it out, but my goodness. 2 strikes, like, honestly, if it was a full count, that I'm fine with it. Full count, fine. Walk him. Don't even. But 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be able to throw stuff outside of the zone and hope he chases, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to throw him a hittable pitch, but just, walk him, but not intentionally.
I personally feel like this is almost a little bit of a lack of confidence in the pitcher. Like, how as the guy on the mound, how do you not take it personally that you're 1 and 2 in the count and your manager is like, I can't even put the confidence in this guy to pick the corners for a bit.
Safely walk him.
What was his defense of that move?
It had something to do. He went. I'm trying to think of the reasoning. He didn't back down from it after.
No, I know
game.
he didn't.
Why would he?
God, he had a reasoning for it. It had something to do with numbers. It was. I think he brought up the lefty.
And I think he said, "Have you seen what
Or a right-handed
Trey's
hitter.
numbers are with 2 strikes against lefties?" And I'm like, "Why are you looking at that?"
Yeah.
I think the craziest there were 2 outs in the inning.
Yep, there was 2 outs in the inning. And the other thing is Benetti
Great
even
point.
says, and I do like Jason Benetti a lot. He says that, does he know the average for MLB on 2 strikes? It's like 220. You know, why is he with 2 strikes? Like he said, you might as well just bury a slider at that point and try to get him to swing at something. Like, just, I can't fathom in any way, shape, or form with 2 strikes why you'd pitch around somebody. I can't think of it in my mind.
You have
The
3
only time-
pitches that you don't have to throw for strikes that can be balls, but could end up in an out.
Yep.
Why would you take that?
I don't know. It's
I
fine.
just like to imagine the second La Russa called him to walk, the bench boss walks over and is like, "Okay, La Russa, keys." Right?
Yeah.
Obviously. You're not driving.
So when I posted that video, that's all I got is Lewis is on the sauce again.
Oh man. All right. Speaking of La Russa and his job security, then is he safe for the year no matter what he does? Like the team's
I don't
struggling,
know.
crazy judgment calls. How long of a leash does he get?
So this is something Joel and I were talking about a few days ago. I don't think he's fired during the season. I think if he gets fired, it'll be after the season. Reinsdorf and him are buddy buddy.
Mm-hmm.
The reason they brought him back is because Reinsdorf wanted to right a wrong. He let La Russa go. La Russa was successful with other teams. It's the one regret I think Reinsdorf had was letting him go, and he wants him to win there to prove that, hey, bring him back and right a wrong. But I don't think it's working. It's not. Like you said, he's overthinking everything, and it's costing us games. And it's just, I like I said, if it happens, it's the end of the year. He'll play out the rest of the year.
I have to agree with Rick, and I love that you brought that up. I really feel like it is infinite leash here. I do think that if there is a move to be made managerially for the White Sox, it's going to be in the offseason. And I truly do believe there's still a lot of season left for La Russa to turn this ship around. It almost reminds me a little bit of when the Edmonton Oilers made the Stanley Cup Finals in 2006, and they wound up doubling down on a bunch of guys that they probably shouldn't have doubled down on. And this is a scenario the White Sox are in, because I really do think that it is time for them to move beyond this La Russa era, this secondary La Russa era. I just think that there's too much rope that is available, and I can't see La Russa being fired even in the offseason. It would need to be the White Sox would need to continue to be a below 500 team for something like that to happen, in my opinion.
Do you think, as just one last side question, do you think like older generation managers still belong?
I think I think you have to go person to person. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Like,
based
if
on the
you look
team-
at the World Series last year, it was what Snitker and Dusty Baker, and that's like two guys who are 65 plus years old. So I think it's still in there, but you have to the analytics is something where you have to constantly upgrade your skill set every single year because the game is constantly evolving on levels that you weren't even talking about when you were in your prime managerially. So
Yep.
I mean, I hate to bring it up, I really do, but the Mets.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And
saying.
I hate the
agree with
Mets.
you
I don't
guys.
even
It's
like to bring it
just
up, but
some of
like,
them.
Here's
You
okay.
get
seems
guys
to be
who want
working there.
embrace the analytics, and those are the ones like you're saying that are successful.
Here's my thoughts on these old school managers. We see it on opening day when all the coaching staff is out there for the national anthem and whatever. It's home base to foul line with your players and then your massive support staff, right? Like it is as much of a team job coaching a team as it's ever been in the history. I think that the best leaders and the best managers are the ones who know how to utilize that support staff, put people in positions of knowledge and their expertise, and know when you have a weakness and you have someone who can help cover that weakness. So with that being said, old school or new school, I think, the Dusty Bakers of the world, go on and on the list of all these old guys who have had success. I think they did that 30 years ago, 20 years ago. I don't see a reason why that would change. Like if you found success historically and you were a Hall of Fame level manager, you were probably listening to your support staff back then. You're just listening to more people now. So I think those guys still have a spot in this game.
Charlie Montoyo is no spring chicken, right? Like there is something to be said for experience in the game, and if you are someone who's over 50 and still can adjust the way you think and kind of buy into analytics and change with the game, I think that's the biggest thing is, are you able as a manager to still change as the game changes? And if you are, I think there's still space for you in baseball.
Yeah.
Don't forget, Dusty Baker's never won the big game either. For as much success in the teams that he's had, he's never won a World Series.
Okay, with that in mind, before we play our last round here and get Dominic his token victory, Joe Girardi fired last week. Madden also fired. Which of those two guys gets scooped up first? Or do either of them find themselves with another job this year?
Sure,
Scott,
there's a vacancy in Philly, right? So like Joe
You think-
Madden should fit right in there, and then
Just a
there's
full
also
swap?
a vacancy. There's a vacancy in LA. Yeah, the Joes just switch places.
Dominic, what did you think about Girardi and the Yankees when he was managing the Yankees? How'd you feel about that?
I think he had a great, what was the 2017 season when the Yankees went to the ALCS. When the Yankees got rid of Giardi, I was in shock, to be honest with you. I'm not a fan of Aaron Boone. He's doing a great job this season though, but I do not like Boone whatsoever.
So this is interesting here, just for everyone in the panel. Connor in YouTube just brings up here. He's like the youngest manager in the league is the Cardinals manager, who's 35 years old. 35.
Yeah.
It's younger than it's younger than a
Younger
lot
than
of
some
guys in the
people
league.
on this panel.
Yeah,
Younger than
it's true.
Pujols.
Yeah.
The Cardinals are always successful, though. I don't believe a manager makes any difference to that team. They just continue to put up winning records every year, no matter what.
All right. Well, let's move on to that. Our last round of guess the total career earnings. The player we're going to be looking at, Boston Red Sox, former Colorado Rocky, Trevor Story.
The most pronounceable name in my repertoire.
Yes. So he has played 7 seasons, including this season to date. We are also including the contract he just signed with the Red Sox, which takes him through 2028. So total career earnings, including this current contract. Trevor Story. We're going to start with Joel.
200.
200 for Joel. Scott, what do you got? Trevor Story.
201.
201. What an asshole. Rick, what do you got?
I'm going to double that, 202.
Fuck both of you.
402 is doubling it.
Me? Why fuck me?
Well, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're
I don't
right.
deserve to be fucked
We'll
in this
reel it in.
situation.
Just fuck Rick. Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Dominic, what do you got?
I got 210.
210. Okay. And Jen.
Very respectful, because he could have very easily gone 203 and really squeezed all of us right out.
The only jerks bid one over.
Jen, what do you got for Trevor Story?
211.
211.
Yes.
See what you started, Joel?
All right. Well, let's roll it back because everybody overbid.
Is over? We're all over?
Everybody's overbid.
I was going to do the $1 just to be the contrarian, but apparently that would have worked. So
Yep. All right, Joel, back to you. Trevor Story, career total earnings under 200.
I got screwed, but I was the closest. So 186.
186. Okay, Scott, what do you got?
180.
180. Rick,
170.
170. Dominic,
I got 175.
175. Jen.
now I'm going to look like I'm purposely being a jerk. I was going to go 176. So God, bloody.
Great job in making Jen look bad, Dominic. Come on.
Yeah.
Jen, is that your bid?
$1.
$1.
Nice.
All right.
Okay, there we go.
And the closest without going over is Jen with $1.
That worked.
Career total earnings, including this contract for Trevor Story, $169 million. So Rick was very close with 170. Actually, if we really look at it, he was only 20,000 over because it's 169.98. Very close, but still over. So that means Dominic, it's your turn. Floor is yours, buddy.
Okay, so I want to talk about offense. When you look at runs scored per game and then runs allowed per game, biggest thing is everyone thought that the Blue Jays and Yankees were going to be neck and neck this season. But when you look at the offensive aspects, it's been a tale of two different teams. Now, I believe that the Blue Jays could catch up, and when we go into August and September, it's going to be a neck-to-neck battle. Right now, offensive standpoints at the one differential, the Yankees are plus 127, if I'm correct, and the Blue Jays only plus 34. So with that said, the offense, I feel like the Blue Jays offense has to step it up. And I was wondering what you guys think, who is the standout player offensively and how the Blue Jays offense could come together and do what the Yankees have been doing.
I love this topic.
It's a great topic. So a couple things to dissect here. The Yankees currently run differential plus 127. Blue Jays plus 34. In terms of runs scored, it is 307 to 263, so about 50 extra runs for the Yankees. Runs against 180 to 229, so like 50 runs fewer allowed for the Yankees. So that is the broader context. Also, I do think worth noting, and again, credit to them on their wins and losses. You got to beat up on bad teams, but if we look at their record against teams over 500, the Blue Jays have played 11 extra games against teams with a winning record. So I think that factors into runs scored and runs allowed.
I think it does too. I think that's one of the reasons why Dominic kind of feels like it's probably going to even out a little bit more as we see the season progress. I'll be honest, the Yankees have blown me away a little bit.
Yeah.
They are a much better team than I was expecting. Even up until about 2 weeks ago, I was screaming from the rooftops, this is not a 100-plus win team. This is a 95-win team. It's all going to come back to down to earth. They have not. And I'm starting to think they're not going to. Nestor Cortez is for real, which scares the shit out of me because that means they have 2 number ones on this team. And I right from the start would not accept this about Nestor Cortez. We started to see signs of it last year, and I was like, this isn't for real. He's going to find his medium. There's no way this guy who is so dependent on his breaking pitches can be this dominant this consistently, and I'm full of shit because absolutely he is. I don't see him regressing. I think that this Yankees team is going to win the AL East.
Yeah.
I don't think the Blue Jays are going to catch them. I don't think the Blue Jays are going to even get close to the run differential, in all honesty. That said, 5-game series, 7-game series is a whole different animal. And I think that this is really going to come down to the playoffs between the Yankees and the Blue Jays. And I think that they are going to have a series against each other that is going to determine who goes to the World Series. That's my thoughts on the Yankees and the Blue Jays offense.
All right.
Joel, I know you're just jumping out of here, bud.
Who's the Yankees' second ace? Montgomery, Severino,
It's not
Kyle.
not Cole.
not Cole, right?
I wouldn't put Cole.
Not
as
Cole, whose ERA is .70 behind all those other 4 guys. He's number 5 in that
You're
rotation.
paying like $36 million a year.
Sorry, I slowed down one of them. I couldn't slow them all down.
Garrett Cole is undoubtedly the worst acquisition in free agency and MLB history. The fact that the Yankees gave him that much money is a complete joke, and he hasn't done anything with the team, and it's laughable. It really is laughable.
With that,
Nick
then,
Knack Spider Tack, right, Joel?
What? Tell me about it.
He makes $1.2 million a start.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Okay, so speaking of overpaying guys, Dominic, I'm dying to hear your thoughts on Aaron Judge. How do you see this offseason playing out, and what do the Yankees have to do with Aaron Judge?
Okay, so right now Aaron Judge is on pace to hit about 65 home runs. He's in the midst of an MVP caliber season.
Not bad in a dead ball season.
Yeah.
Middle season.
I don't think the Yankees should give Aaron Judge what he's wanting, about like $285, $3 million a total for a contract. Aaron Judge, he's in his age 30, 31 season. Giving him a 10-year contract is outrageous. I think what the Yankees have to do, trade for Juan Soto and put him there on the team and show Aaron Judge, hey, you know what? If you don't want to accept the deal that we give you later on, well, this is your replacement. And then Yankees, they have someone to fall back on. And you know what? Juan Soto, he's young. He's going to be just as good as Aaron Judge. Also, other Yankee fans, they won't mind seeing Juan Soto in pinstripes with Aaron Judge on another team.
Wow, I am
Dominic,
surprised by this take.
Yeah, this is the first time I've heard a Yankees fan say that. Every Yankees fan I've talked to is like, I don't care.
Back
You
up the
have
truck.
to. You absolutely have to.
Is Soto still wanting out? From
I don't know if he's wanting out or if he just wants money and wants more than they could offer
I
him.
had heard some something a couple months back that he wanted out.
I hadn't heard that he wanted out. I do like this strategy, though, of trade for Juan Soto, let Aaron Judge walk this year, and then let Juan Soto walk 3 years later. That's great.
Okay, yeah,
The revolving door.
Yeah.
Dominic's like, I hate that idea, Adam.
Give more money to Joey Gallo.
How many times
Can
has
I
the
just say
Yankees-
something on Joey Gallo?
Please.
Please defend him.
Yankees gotta send him to the moon. You gotta
Okay.
DFA Joey Gallo. He is the biggest joke. Yes, he hit a few home runs the other night against Minnesota. He's the biggest joke ever. Yes, he's the most unluckiest player. I'm unlucky right now having to watch him play. It's painful watching him play. I've never seen such a poor at bat ever in my life than seeing Joey Gallo looking at a pitch right down the middle. It's the most embarrassing thing. And the fact that the Yankees haven't done anything yet for Joey Gallo. You can't trade him. No one's going to want Joey Gallo. I don't care. Even Baltimore wouldn't want Joey Gallo. You got to DFA him. You got to do something to clear up that spot.
What's
then-
hilarious? What's
Go ahead,
hilarious
Sam.
about Joey Gallo is that he is going to be legislated into being a really good player again next year when they ban the shift, and all of a sudden Joey Gallo is going to have an extreme amount of value to some team that's going to wind up signing him to $1.5 million or something like that, and we're going to be like, fuck, how did the Rays do this to us again? Right?
How many times have the Blue Jays played the Orioles, and how many times have the Yankees played the Orioles?
The
I
Blue
mean,
Jays
I
have
know
yet
that
to
the-
play. The Blue Jays have yet to play the Orioles at all.
Yeah, that's what I think the schedule plays into it.
Yankees have played him 13 times.
Yep, there you
Yeah.
go. 13 times, and the Blue Jays haven't played them at all. So, I mean, again, the Yankees are lucky without getting hit with a lot of injuries, too. That's another thing I was going to bring up is they haven't had the injury bug like a lot of other teams have.
So the Yankees are with a 733 win percentage, on pace to win 118 games. I do think that there's some regression there. I think 118 for the whole season is a little bit inflated. That being said, with 44 wins already and 102 games left to play, even if they play 500 baseball for those next 102 games, and I don't think they do. I still think they play well above 500.
Yeah.
Let's just say they do play 500. They're struck with injuries and whatever. That still gets them to 95 wins.
The Yankees have consistently done things like they did against the Minnesota Twins, where it looks like they're going to lose the series and all of a sudden come out of nowhere and save it. And this is the big difference between the Blue Jays and the Yankees. This is why the Blue Jays have won 14 of the last 20 games. They've lost no ground, but they've gained 0. Like, think about that for a second. The Blue Jays are playing at a 700 win percentage, and they have gained nothing on the Yankees. And 20 games is not a small amount, right? Let's be serious. That's almost 10%. You know, it's about 8% of the season. Like, that's.
Is there
I'm
anybody
way
here
off
who
on my.
thinks
I'm
the
way off on
Yankees
my math here. I'm way off on my
division?
math here, but still,
No. I mean,
Ben's like, oh, I'm a teacher and the education system needs work.
right at the start of this stream, we got a comment from Damien who said, "Who cares about the AL East title? It's all about the World Series." And ultimately, that's what it's going to come down to. You just need a ticket to the dance. Expanded playoffs this year. Once you get in, anything can happen. And I do think there's a little bit of we just need to not panic. Right? I think we're well on pace to make the playoffs. We don't have to do anything drastic. I think this 14 in the last 20 has really calmed a lot of our nerves about we got to trade for this guy. We got to make a move. We got to do this.
I don't think the Blue Jays will catch the Yankees, and I agree with the comment. Right? You get into the playoffs and anything can happen. But the one thing I will say is that we're expecting that there might be some regression from the Yankees. The Blue Jays are still not playing their absolute best baseball.
No, they're not.
Right? They're not. So if the Jays and they're absolutely playing better, Hernandez, Gurriel, even Biggio,
Yes.
right?
2 doubles today.
Playing much better, but there's still more to be seen from Vlad, for example, right? there's still more production to get out of this lineup. So it would be fantastic, depending on when a team gets hot and another team might go slightly cold. I don't think the Blue Jays are necessarily going to catch the Yankees, but it's also sometimes going into the playoffs about getting hot at the right time too.
It even impressed me that Dominic, that you brought up, as a Yankees fan, that you're like, I do see the Blue Jays catching up a little bit on this run differential and their offense kind of kicking it into gear. I'd love a temperature check from you on just how most Yankee fans do feel about the Blue Jays. Mm-hmm. Are the Blue Jays a concern to Yankees fans, or for the most part, the Yankees fans are like, we got this World Series 2022?
100%. I feel like the Blue Jays are a huge concern. When I was doing my preseason predictions, I had the Blue Jays winning about 5 more games than the Yankees. The Blue Jays have an incredibly great team, and it's just a matter of time before they really get hot. And all they need is just to get into basically a series striking distance from the Yankees. The Yankees just have 1 or 2 bad series, and then boom, that's the ALE lead right there. The Blue Jays, I feel like they're in a great situation. They have a solid amount of momentum going for them. You know what? If they don't catch the Yankees, then they're guaranteed a playoff spot very late in the season. They could try new things out with their players, different lineups, different spots, who's playing the most. And you could be set up very well going into the playoffs. And I think it's going to be very interesting. Every time the Blue Jays have played the Yankees this season, I've been nervous because that game could easily go any way. And Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he's been a Yankee killer, in my opinion, ever since coming up into Major League Baseball.
Love it. Well, let's end it on that note. Jays take solace in the fact that Yankees fans are scared of us, regardless of the record. Tip of the cap to Gabriel Moreno for making his MLB debut. We're at like 2 hours plus on this episode, so we'll wrap it up here. But before we do, we'll just say goodbye to each one of our panelists. So now's your chance. Damien, let's start with you. What if people like listening to you and maybe don't hate the Yankees as much as I do, where can they find more of you?
And Dominic, we got you here. I know, little mess up of the name, but Dominic.
What did I say?
Damien.
Oh, it was from that YouTube comment about 5 minutes ago that I read off. Dominic. Fuck.
Okay.
Fuck.
See, everyone has trouble pronouncing names, Scott. You're not
Yeah.
Dominic, why couldn't you have been named Trevor Story? I would have nailed it. All right. All right. Dominic, where can people find more of you?
Okay, here on YouTube, New York Sports Show. We cover every major New York sport team. It is crazy, over 200 interviews. And I got to say, on the record, I bought a Blue Jays hat before I ever bought a Yankee hat.
All right.
Love the Blue Jays.
Well, you look good in it, bud. You look good.
Thank you. Thank you. I love the Blue Jays, but the Yankees will always be number 1 in my heart. But I talk about every sport, every major New York sports team, along with other news. I have fan call-ins. So, yeah,
Nice.
check me out, New York Sports Show here on YouTube.
Very cool. Rick, what's going on with you on TikTok? You were just shooting a promo for sunglasses, we heard.
Yeah, like I said before, when everyone got on, I did send that video to Joel to look over so I could get his expertise. First branding. So I did a little bit of a shoot for about a minute-long video for sunglasses. It's still being approved. We'll see how it does. Hopefully it takes off. It's out of my element, so I'm trying to expand. Like you were saying, monetize it, get out there, get my name out there a little bit more.
Absolutely. Well, good luck with that. What's the name of your TikTok channel again, just for anybody who is new here?
Rick Talks Baseball.
Rick Talks Baseball on TikTok. Okay, very good. Joel, speaking of TikTok, what are you up to these days now that we're not doing sticky stuff?
The movie. The last 10 days, I haven't really even done TikTok because as soon as I'm off here, I go on to the Google Drive and I start pulling footage, and the editor and I go over stuff from 11 months ago, and it's thousands of hours of footage, and that's literally all I'm consuming myself with.
You're
But
getting close, right, my friend?
it's really great because we get to see the scenes now. It's weird. Everything is in different stages, right? Like there's self-tape. There's a lot of the footage is like a Zoom call. between the actors and doing their preliminary auditions and everything. And then you see all the stages all the way to that final shoot when they're on set and it's fully produced and everything like that. That footage is stored in a different place. Like I couldn't move that footage around because the quality is so high on it. You couldn't render that stuff. I couldn't sit here on my computer and edit that type of footage because it would literally just crash my computer. Wow. But yeah, it's going really, really well. And I was supposed to have some footage for you guys this week. I will have a completed scene. It won't be the fully produced version, but it'll be between our actors that we used on set, and I'll be able to play out maybe an entire scene next week if
that would be awesome.
Get that to you guys. Yeah, I'll try to.
Awesome.
I'll give you a bunch of scenes that you can pick from, and whichever one you want to do, I'll get you the best version of it, and we can play it out, and I can set it up and everything, kind of like a
very cool
talk show.
Very cool. Situation. I love it. This is going to be available for everybody on Shudder.
Yeah, Shudder is where we're going first, but the idea is that we've self-produced it ourselves, which is literally impossible for any other show. You can never make 14 episodes of a show self-produced. You can make the pilot. That's why pilots are so important. You make that first episode, it sells the idea of the show, then the network picks it up. Right. We were able to make the entire first season through the way that this concept works. So that's a hell of a lot better of a selling point than just being like, here's a script.
Very cool. Looking forward to it. Jen, nice to see you again, as always.
Happy to be here.
Where can people find more of you? And when are you going to start producing like a weekly show for us on the Walkoff here?
That's a very good question. You can find me on Twitter at baseball_Jen. That's Jen with 2 N's. I'm over on Instagram as well, but that's mostly cat pics and workout pics. So I'm not really sure you want to head over there. No real baseball content. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I am looking for an opportunity out there, whether it be a writing gig or something else. So fingers
People
crossed.
want more, you Jen. We get it all the time.
More,
like
yes.
I'm not joking. I get probably 2 to 3 DMs a week being like, Jen's coming back, right? And I'm like, yes. So
all right, well maybe I'll have to join you midweek.
There you go.
Well,
I love that idea.
Let's talk for real afterwards. Scott and I got a few balls in the air that we're working on, but we'd love for you to be a part of it in a bigger role. So anyways, thank you again for joining us. And Scott, any comedy shows? I know we're going to Saskatoon at the end of the month.
That's right. If you're in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Thursday, June 24th, we're playing Stumbletown Distillery. And if you're even a little bit more off the beaten path, Lloydminster, I'm going to be playing the day before. So Wednesday, June 23rd, 4th Meridian Brewing. And if anyone comes out and says that they saw me on the walk-off, I buy you a beer. How's that?
That's a great deal. That's a great deal
right?
There. Okay, thanks again to all of our phenomenal panelists. Thanks to the 40-plus people we had on YouTube Live Sunday night. And thanks for everybody who's liked, commented, subscribed, shared this in a Facebook post, shared it on Reddit, wherever the case may be. We appreciate all of you. Love you, and good night.